and let's start talking about FileMaker Pro 15. So, all right, let's get to my presentation here. So, we're going to start off with what's new in FileMaker Pro 15, all right, and then we'll get into all the different ones: Go, WebDirect Server, etc. And we're going to start off with the small, sort of like fun interface things, right? So, what looks different about FileMaker Pro 15? And the interesting part about this is that oh, I'm getting some signs from Jason that I may have some trouble hearing me.
I can't see.
Okay, so everybody can hear me okay, see me all right? All right. Okay, just double check in there. I don't like to get to the end of the meeting and then find out, oh, you couldn't see what I was doing. So I've actually heard a lot of feedback from developers, long-time developers that love FileMaker about they open up FileMaker Pro 14, they open up FileMaker Pro 15, and they don't really look all that different. You don't see, the script workspace looks the same. A lot of the user interface looks the same, and it's kind of hard to point out the differences, and they are pretty subtle in this release. So a lot of these slides I'm going to get are kind of like marketing sort of descriptions for FileMaker, but they're helpful to keep track of things. So the newly designed status toolbar icons in FileMaker Pro keeps your custom apps looking fresh. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we're going to open up FileMaker Pro 14 as well, just for comparison. Yes, Field Picker is legible now. So let's open the same starter solution, FileMaker Pro 14 here. And okay, so this one is going to be FileMaker Pro 14. And this one's going to be 15. So 14, if you notice, this is FileMaker Pro 14. Like, look at the show all and the new record and the delete record. These are all kind of just outlined, right? There's not like an embossed background or anything. It's very flat, right? So flat was the key word last year, I guess. And now you can see we've got a little bit more going on with our buttons, right? So not like the most drastic change in the world, but a lot of people, I didn't even notice it until I really started looking at it. And likewise in layout mode, these are all kind of black and white, super minimalistic. And FileMaker decided that's boring, let's add some color, right? So yeah, so that's one super small change that many people didn't even notice other than the color. Then they added the concealed edit box, which is it will hide sensitive information you don't want displayed on your screen. Characters you enter are masked by a bullet symbol. This feature is ideal for capturing information such as passwords, PINs, or credit card numbers. This feature does not encrypt the data stored in the field. To do this, you must use encryption at rest. So let's take a look at that. Let's encrypt our first name field. All right, or what am I saying, encrypt? See that? What have I done? It's not actual encryption, right? But as you can see, this is a first name that probably said something like new contact, that now it's just bullets, and you kind of can't really tell how long it is either. So it's the typical password hiding thing. Super useful, though. I'm glad that they put that in there. And now the portal inline progress bar, which this one is one of my favorite things because it's a performance improvement as well as an interface one. And performance is always a good thing to improve. So be more productive while working with your apps. Filtering and sorting data now takes place separately from other operations, so you can continue to use your app while these processes are running. This progress bar lets you know when the task is complete. So I got this this file, this portal threading file from FileMaker Hacks, so props to them for sure. And let's see if I can find that so we can see that thing live. Let's download that guy real quick here. Let's get their demo file here. So if anybody needs any links or needs the whole presentation itself, just let me know. So I know this would probably be very helpful if you guys have new employees that have never seen FileMaker before, or people going for the FileMaker 15 test. So let's check out that awesome file they gave us for portal threading here. Really good demo. So I'm going to go into, forgive me for the switching around of the screens on you here. I know that can be a bit jarring. So let's open up the portal threading, okay? So we've got some global variables that are set to 0, and essentially these portals are going to loop through like a million records, okay, to display them. So we're going to go to the filtered portal layout. Let's see if I can get this to show. If I open this in the wrong version of FileMaker, boy will I be sorry, because it's going to be mighty slow. Okay, and so it was, which makes me think. Alright, so let's go home. Let's reset our global variables. Alright. Let's see here. We're gonna try that again. I'm not sure what I did wrong. Of course, I've done this 1,000 times. I do it during a demo, and it doesn't work. So let's see. There we go. There's our portal threading, live and in color, right? So I can still click around. I can change values, and this thing's still loading. So super cool. You know, love seeing that in person. And thanks a lot to FileMaker Hacks for making that easy, because I did not want to set that up. All right. So moving right along. We also have in-product updates, because this is an exciting one. I like this. You can receive in-product notifications and instantly download and install the latest updates for FileMaker Pro from right within the product. So that's very nice. Now in FileMaker Pro 15, if there's a small revision update, you can download it and install it without having to go to the FileMaker website. Hopefully without having to shut down FileMaker, but we'll see. Wayne. Yeah.
How will that affect RDS, remote desktop services? Checking for updates.
Remote desktop now. Now
That's a Windows world that one of my clients uses.
Okay, well, I mean, do you mean in the sense of, I know in some remote desktop configurations, you can open any program you want, so that wouldn't really harm that at all. But some configurations you have to open like a specific program in remote desktop, right? So is that what you're talking about, where it's sort of like a kiosk mode where you only have file?
Yeah, it's not built onto the machine. You know, they're opening them up for wherever the hell it is.
Okay.
As I said, it's loaded on a remote desktop for people to, they log in, they go on their machine, and the software is not loaded on their local machine.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have any effect on that, because this will essentially just update FileMaker on the remote machine, as long as they're not like on a kiosk mode sort of session. I think they'll be fine. Now there is sometimes where you can configure remote desktop session to be in kiosk mode sort of thing, where all you can do is FileMaker. I'm very curious to see if FileMaker updates, does it completely kick you off and then let you back on? I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but just regular old remote desktop without any sorts of strange configurations, I don't think I have any problem with that. So
it checks for automatic updating, and that might be an issue with, quote unquote, the novice type of person.
Right.
The John Q user who has, goes in there and says, oh, what the hell is this going and doing this? And as I said, there's a third party, another consulting firm that basically controls their environment for their computers. And they created the RDS. It was fun when we moved over to FileMaker for that, because I had to do a whole bunch of changing, especially when sending out emails.
Oh wow, yeah. FileMaker and email is an interesting thing. Easy to send, not so easy to receive.
Oh, it was a pain in the arse to send it using the remote RDS, because we had to do some special things.
I see. Jason, did you have a comment?
I was going to throw in there. I was going to throw in there that that is a configurable item, not so much email, but this in-product updating. You can actually shut that off for your clients, so that if you have a solution that's really sensitive to that sort of thing, that for instance, if they upgraded, you could have.
I think any time like after 9 or 10 o'clock, between 10 and 2 would not be an issue if we could set it off for a time period.
I think you may be misunderstanding what's going on with this particular update. It actually just allows you to through the FileMaker Pro interface, download and install the updates, as opposed to having the kind of kludgy solution that they've had up to now, which was where if you had it switched on, it would notify you there's an update out there, and then you could tell it, okay, I'll follow your link or whatever, go off to the FileMaker website, find the correct download, then download it, then install it, right? So that was
yada. Here you go.
Yeah, so this is more, kind of more in line with, I don't know, I was going to say modern, but even ancient software upgrades. So really, they're just kind of trying to bring that up into the 20th century. But so it's nice to have. But if in case that's a thing, if you're in a situation where your deployment could be put in jeopardy by users upgrading without your knowledge, you can shut that off. So that's just an important little thing on the side.
All right, and I really appreciate the question and people jumping in and being interested. It's always a good thing. Can't be too careful, right? So alongside that super small but and configurable change, web-based help is also it's just moving the help out of FileMaker and onto the web, but it's still a pretty significant change and affects obviously the performance of help and where everything's stored. So get faster results when searching for the FileMaker Pro information you're looking for using the new web-based help. Plus, you can even download help and use it offline. So that's very cool too. So if you're concerned that this is going to be an online-only sort of thing, for whatever reason, I don't know why you'd really need it offline these days, but you can totally get it that way. So let's see if I can pull that up now. So FileMaker Pro Advanced Help. Let's bigify this. How do I do that here? So yeah, so this is what the new help looks like. As you can see, I went to FileMaker Pro Help and it opened up Chrome, and here we are. And basics, charting, everything's in here. It's searchable. So pretty nice. I think this is a step in the right direction. Everything should be on the web, really. So
I've heard from some Windows users that this has actually been a pretty significant change in the interface for help. The last couple of FileMaker releases, the Mac version of help is at least vaguely similar to this. So I kind of use both myself in our business here at Extensitech. So as far as getting into help and then finding your way around. What I hope they're not starting here is a trend of making changes to help as often as they make changes to their website, because I can't find anything on FileMaker.com most days because they changed it since earlier today. So I think getting the help in general to be the same thing is a big step forward, because again, having a completely different interface between Mac and PC seemed kind of goofy there. But let's just hope they settle on something and stay there for a while.
And it might be cool to get web-based help on your phone, if you're about to go and take the FileMaker 15 exam or something and you want to look something up real quick. You can do that now, and you didn't used to be able to do that. So at least I imagine they let you access this on your phone. And now there's something for host search here. So this is one of the tiniest changes, which is why it's coming towards the bottom here. Now you have you've always been able to search for files, well, at least since for version 14, but now you can also filter for hosts as well. So just something small that you might not have noticed if I didn't bring it up. And in OS X, you can do a full screen view and split view, and they're now supported in FileMaker Pro's Windows. So let me open up a different file in FileMaker Pro 14 so you can see this here. Or actually 15, I should say. So let's open a new one. Starter solution. We'll make this one maybe like event management. Sure. All right. So for one, I hit the green expansion sign, and now FileMaker is in the beautiful Mac full screen mode. That I wish everything let me work like this. I really like the way that looks. Now, if I do the same thing to contacts, I get another one, right? Another beautiful full screen FileMaker window. But now in FileMaker Pro 15, I can do this where they are side by side and taking up half the screen and completely full screen. And I can obviously, make it less so or more so. So Yeah, if you're not a Mac user, you probably couldn't care less. I'm really into stuff like that. I like my applications full screen, and makes a difference to me. All right, and in OS X, this being our tiniest change that I'm going to bring up today, you can now open and close a pop-up menu with the space bar, which has been, yeah, yay, yeah, such a ridiculous inconsistency between Mac and PC. So you see, I've found myself a pop-up menu, right? So I'm going to tab into it and then press space, and voila, be amazed. Very, very silly that wasn't always the way. I don't know why that was so hard, but it's done now. And
Do
this
you still
one,
have to hit
yeah.
Sorry, do you have to hit the spacebar to enable that pop-up?
Well, it used to be that you would tab into a pop-up menu, and you wouldn't actually be able to get it to pop. You couldn't actually see the items in the value list. Obviously, a drop-down list worked just fine, but a pop-up menu, if
Yep.
if you were like a really keyboard-oriented person, there's no way to get this thing to do anything. But now you can use the space bar, and you can tab into it, use the space bar, say I want to be professional, and keep tabbing right along, and doing your data entry. So I don't know why
Okay,
that
so
was.
sorry,
Yeah,
just a quick question. So meaning when you tab into the field, you still have to hit spacebar first to get the pop-up to show.
right. Which
And are you able to type multiple letters, or does it is it limited to the first letter only?
let's see here. So I'm gonna type in FR. Yeah, you can type the whole word here. So professional, right?
Yep.
So it'll get you to the right selection in here. So if I do edit, yeah. So it's just a little more keyboard friendly. That's all. It's always been on Windows, or at least as far as I've known. Um, and I guess now they realize that the keyboard users are on Mac too. So I don't know what that's about. But so in a script workspace now, which I don't know how I ever lived without this, I can now undo and redo, and also the specify calculation dialog box. But I'm not sure. It seems like there's still some places that are missing undo and redo in FileMaker 15, but I haven't listed them or anything. It just seems like I'm still bumping into them. But in general, most places you have undo and redo now, which is good. Um, let's see if there's anything good down here. Ever accidentally delete something in the script workspace and you wish you could get it back? Instantly recover your scripting work with multiple undo. Now you can undo and redo your work as many times as needed. Changes aren't finalized until you both save and exit script workspace. So that might be an important difference there. I doubt it'll be on the test, but it's just something interesting. And this is a really great one too. Highlighting script errors. Red highlighted text helps you easily identify problem areas in the script workspace, saving you valuable development time. This feature is useful when importing scripts from other FileMaker apps or for more complex apps with multiple scripts. So in XBase, we have really long, really complicated scripts, and sometimes we can, let's say, delete a layout, delete a custom function, and those sorts of things can completely wreak havoc if you're not keeping track of them. So it's really nice to be able to do a check for problems and see, hey, what's wrong with my script? So to demonstrate, I'll grab my about script here, and let's do an empty if, and maybe I go to layouts. Maybe not a go to layout. Let's do a perform script. All right, and if I right click or two finger click, do check for problems, boom. There you can see right there, it points them out. So super helpful if you're a heavy scripter, and we certainly are here at Extens Tech. So nice that they added that, and those colors are configurable, which is fun. That's been since FileMaker Pro 14, but okay, we have a new script step as well, which is truncate table. It deletes all records in the specified table regardless of the current found set. Truncate table may delete records more quickly than delete all records when you're deleting a large number of records. Now, this just blows my mind with FileMaker. I really don't understand this. So let's start a new script here. Let's just add a temp script. So we have the delete all records script step, which for whatever reason does not actually delete all records. So let's see what that does. So we're going to add a couple records here, and I'm going to omit my first one. All right, so I'm on 4 out of 5 records. So, and if I run this, it's going to say, we're going to save that, and we're on the record that I had omitted. So that doesn't delete all records, it deletes found records. So I don't know why they call it that. I can't figure it out for the life of me. But if I were to use truncate table, and I add a bunch of records, and then I omit the record that I'm on, so I'm on 4 out of 5 records found, and I run this, I'm on 0 records. So why didn't they call one of those script steps delete found records and call this one delete all records? I have no idea. But either way, now it's there. Now we finally really do have a way of deleting all the records in the table, which is terrifying, right? Be very careful with that one. And script workspace preferences. A new preference allows you to display newly created scripts in the scripts menu by default. So let's get Chrome out of the way here. That's bumping into me a lot. So now in the script workspace, we can go, I believe, where are you hiding? This one's kind of a tough one to find, honestly. It's somewhere strange. Where are you? Are you here? So bear with me as I fumble around a little bit because I've only ever seen it once. I know it exists. Here we go, in view, the script workspace preferences. Why? I'll never know. But so then there's this guy hiding in the menus now. So you have a setting for, do I automatically add new scripts to my scripts menu with this little check mark here that shows it in the scripts menu or not? And here's script coloring, right? Like I told, or syntax coloring rather. Like I told you, if there's a problem, you can change it to be highlighted yellow or something exciting. All right. So now the less fun stuff, change script steps. Script steps that previously included the perform without dialog checkbox now display the with dialog option inline, which you should have just seen with our truncate table step here. So with dialog on or off instead of perform without dialog. Convert file, you can choose to verify the SSL certificate of the server specified in an HTTP request for XML data. Import records, you can choose to verify the SSL certificate of the server specified in an HTTP request for XML data. Insert from URL, you can choose to verify the SSL certificate of the server specified in the URL. And send mail, it verifies the SSL certificate of an SMTP server that is using an encrypted connection. So I don't know what happened with FileMaker and certificates. They randomly just shoved a whole bunch of certificate functionality in here. And there's even more. So FileMaker Pro can verify SSL certificates before performing actions that open a file hosted on FileMaker server, import XML data via an HTTP request, or send email via an SMTP server using an encrypted connection. FileMaker Pro notifies you when a host SSL certificate cannot be verified. Choose to connect anyway, add the host to your permitted host list, or cancel. So kind of the same thing, just reiterated there. And I've never really played with certificates. I know obviously it's a way of authenticating and proving you are who you say you are, I guess. But not really sure how this works, but FileMaker is stepping up their security game. So we have a new extended privilege as well. FM script disabled. This will prevent other applications from using AppleScript or ActiveX to perform FileMaker scripts. Okay, so just in case you really wanted to see that in FileMaker, I will show you. Let's see. So here it is. I wasn't lying. It really is in there. So pretty cool. In light of last month's, I believe it was last month's demo from Jason Bork. AppleScript is very powerful with FileMaker, and you can do just about anything. So it's good that we have the control to disable that if necessary. All right. Now the watch tab on the data viewer is more secure. The watch tab in the data viewer requires that you log in to an account that has full access privileges to view expressions. So let's see if I can log into this file with less than perfect privileges. So let's see if I can enable my guest account here. All right. So let's do file options. All right, so let's close this, you two, and let's open this. We're going to use the guest account. Okay, can't do whatever that was. But behold, just like the current tab, that, hey, you don't have privileges to do this. If you want to, then click the lock. The watch tab is just the same, which now, it makes me really wonder, what did FileMaker 14 used to do? So let's check that out. No, this is actually something I have not tried yet. So let's browse. Let's open up my my lovely contacts. And okay, thanks so much. Aha, I can still see my watch tab. So pretty spooky, I guess. If you were a really security-oriented person, this might freak you right out. Some people that have vertical solutions and stuff just really don't like it when FileMaker doesn't patch up holes like this, which is understandable. So now that's fixed. So that's pretty cool. Oh yes, it certainly is, isn't it? Okay, so let's open up FileMaker 15 again. All right. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Nice addition there. You can connect to even more external SQL data sources, including PostgreSQL and IBM DB2 using the ESS adapter, which a while ago we played with PostgreSQL quite a bit, and it's glad to see that's playing nicely with FileMaker now. We have a new, I guess a renamed custom function. GetLast ODBC error is now GetLast external error detail and returns details about SSL certificate errors in addition to ODBC errors. So they kind of rolled everything into one as far as ODBC and SSL certificates go. Range beacons. Return a list of iBeacons and their proximity to an iOS device. So this is a brand new custom function as well. We'll get into beacons in a second. So my cat says hi. So what's new in FileMaker Go 15? And I don't have any devices to show on screen here, but I'll give you an idea of the stuff they added. So content customization, leverage the unique capabilities of other apps on your iOS device to share and modify your FileMaker content. Enhance pictures in a photo editing app, send data to a mobile printer, exchange information with your organization's internal proprietary app, and more. So I'm gonna elaborate on that a bit in a second. Cloud-based file sharing, easily send and receive files including documents, images, videos, and more via cloud storage services such as iCloud and popular file sharing apps on your device. So popular file sharing apps, hilariously, I mean, I don't know why they didn't just say Dropbox, because that's what they meant. But Touch ID support, configure a solution to require users to use a Touch ID or an iOS passcode before FileMaker Go can access its keychain. So super cool that they added Touch ID to FileMaker Go solutions. I'm a huge fan. I use it all the time, and I wish it was more places. 3D touch support, get to the app you want right away. From the FileMaker Go icon on the home screen, directly launch recent files and access the Launch Center on 3D touch enabled devices. So I don't have 3D touch. I don't have that fancy of an iPhone yet, but I imagine it's pretty cool to be able to launch things with one button press, it sounds like. And then we have iBeacon support, which is pretty strange thing. This is brand new to me. Just learned what in the world is an iBeacon, probably about 6 months ago or so. So get location-based data from your custom app. When FileMaker Go is near an iBeacon you previously set up, relevant information can be displayed based on data transmitted from your iBeacon. Automatically pull up information for a self-guided tour, product descriptions at the point of sale, the location of inventory in a warehouse, and more. So this is kind of exciting. This is basically environmental awareness sort of thing. If you're looking for inventory in a warehouse, then I guess you can use an iBeacon to get there. It's still new technology to me. I've never seen one in real life yet, but I imagine that is just super cool. And I got someone messaging me here, so let's see if somebody else has seen that. $20 online to buy yourself an iBeacon. Man, I'm gonna have to get me one of them. That's super cool. I'd love to play with that stuff. I'm a geek like that.
Chris and I from Extension Tech here were at a meeting that Apple held over in Orlando a few weeks ago, and we were in there with a bunch of the Apple or the ACN network guys, the Apple Certified Network technicians. Just kind of a district meeting sort of thing where they get together with the Apple folks, and they really were going to town about these iBeacons. They were pushing the Apple crew there were pushing the technology pretty hard, and they did point out that it's like super cheap. You can get it for like $5. It's not expensive to get an iBeacon, but I think it seems like as Wayne is saying here, not everybody's figured out what to do with these things yet. So. What they were really telling all the technical folk in the room there were just, you need to go get these and figure out what they do. You go get them. Especially and to us who were in sort of the FileMaker corner, they were definitely like, you just be prepared. Know what to do with this. Go get one. Play with it, turn it on, get FileMaker to work with it, understand what's possible and how to work with them because they seem to be like Apple usually does, kind of playing their cards close to their vest, but gearing up for some new stuff. And so I expect this year at like FileMaker's developer convention, they'll probably do something with that, just to kind of get everybody some more awareness. As you walk around one of those big convention centers, to be able to walk up to a kiosk or like an easel with a sign on it where you normally kind of see instructions or some sort of breakdown, and instead walk up to it with your phone and have a FileMaker app interacting with just what's the schedule for this room, who are the presenters, and what's the content and that kind of thing. So it seems like it's potentially very powerful, but pretty new stuff. So we're I guess being encouraged to get out on the bleeding edge there, find out what it's about. So cheap to get. So $15-20, get your iBeacon, start playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one for my remote and my keys. I think that sounds very helpful. So what's new in FileMaker Server 15? So we have not installed this on our server yet, mostly because there's a lot of changes going on, and we want to make sure we're caught up, and we don't jar our poor clients that we host. So we're going kind of slow with this one, so I don't have anything to show you for FileMaker Server 15, but I know a couple of things that are changing. So top call statistics logging quickly diagnose any slowdowns within the FileMaker platform. FileMaker Server shows the top 25 calls from connected clients that are taking the longest time to process. Identify which clients are affected and the duration of the call. So this is pretty great, I think. And I imagine, I don't know how hard this was to implement for them, but good on them, because we got, when you have a performance problem and you have a bottleneck and you don't know what's causing it, it can be tough, because one user has an issue, and then everybody starts having an issue. If one user gets clogged up in FileMaker Server and starts weighing it down, then everybody else does too, and it's hard to tell, how did this happen? Who started this? What script started this? So I haven't seen this in action yet, but I really hope they give us some indication of what's to blame. What script is at fault? More than even what client. It'd be nice to see, what were they doing and when, and I hope that they do more like this, more helpful statistics. So what's new in FileMaker WebDirect 15? Pause for applause here. We got someone messaging. Yeah, very excited, Karen, to see that. We got a lot of clients with big beefy servers that should be able to handle anything, and they still manage to bring it to their knees. So I'll have to figure out what it is that they're doing one day. WebDirect mobile phone support. So this is a fairly big deal, I guess. In addition to the desktop and tablet, you can now use your mobile phone to access FileMaker apps in a web browser. The responsive user interface in FileMaker WebDirect optimizes buttons, fonts, and menus for a streamlined experience on your phone. Supported mobile browsers are Mobile Safari 9. Anything on iOS 9. Whatever, Chrome 48 minimum on Android 5 and 6. So we've played around with this. We've tried to get WebDirect to work on Safari and Chrome and those sorts of things. And even in the last version, it almost entirely listened. It really got close to being done last round in FileMaker WebDirect 14. But I'm excited to see this now. I have not seen WebDirect in 15 to see how does it handle on being on a tiny little screen. But we'll see. So now just some miscellaneous changes. These things probably aren't going to shock anybody. Changed and removed features. OS X, FileMaker Pro can only be run as a 64-bit application. If you use the 32-bit only versions of plugins, ODBC client drivers, or audio video codecs with FileMaker Pro, contact the provider for 64-bit versions of that software. Value list displayed in pop-up menus. If you define a value list to show values from a second field, a field format as a pop-up menu now displays only the value from the first field and applies the data formatting for that field when the pop-up menu is closed. This is the same behavior as for drop-down lists. To display the value from the value list and ignore data formatting, select the new override data formatting with value list inspector option. So holy crap, is that a mouthful? But let's see if I can show you this maybe. So if you see this, there is a new setting under my pop-up menu here, and I've got values from group, override data formatting with value list. So this is saying use the data formatting in the value list by default. If you have this unchecked, then it will format the data in the field when the pop-up menu is closed. So I guess that's cool. Haven't seen that one too much. I don't really haven't played around with it. I imagine it does exactly what you'd expect. Support has been removed from for Acrobat 5 and 6 compatibility when you save records as PDF. And FileMaker Pro User's Guide has been removed. That information is now in Help. So now the big scary one that Karen was awesome to remind me of, because this is a big change, maybe the biggest change in FileMaker 15, is what's going on with licensing. This is something that I've watched a lot about recently. If anybody else has been in their licensing demonstrations and explanations, it's a lot to take hold of and kind of confusing. And in fact, let me see if I can find the reseller application before we get too deep in here. Where Sales Assist, that's the guy. All right.
See, you carefully stored it in the trash.
Yes, a lot of things end up either on my desktop or in my trash. Hopefully FileMaker will forgive me. But so now FileMaker has this thing called FileMaker Licensing for Teams. So before we get into it, let's explain what this is. FileMaker Licensing for Teams is a simple way for teams of 5 or more people to license FileMaker software for their users. Purchase of FileMaker Licensing for Teams includes FileMaker Server and user connections. Each user requires a user connection. User connections allow clients, including FileMaker Pro for user connections, FileMaker Go, and FileMaker WebDirect to connect to FileMaker Server. Each user may connect to FileMaker Server with only one client at a time. So that's a mouthful, and it does explain a lot that's going on with FileMaker licensing for teams, which I'm going to call FLT from now on. But that the first time I heard that completely went over my head. I have no idea what they're talking about, and I needed to be broken down a bit. So FLT licenses are bound to users instead of devices. These licenses are called user connections. So this is the biggest change. We are no longer licensing things per device. It's now per user. So if I work for SenseTech and that's the organization, I can use my MacBook Pro, my iPad that I don't have, or my iPhone, and any of that stuff is okay to connect with, and it all counts as me. Right, so that would mean me using one user connection, and I can't do something crazy like use all 3 at the same time, right? So pick one. And then let me stop because I got a comment here. Make sure that everybody's caught up. Okay, so Karen has a very good question that I'm about to address about the limitations of this licensing. So let me see if I answer your question by going forth here. User connections can be bought in groups of 5. If you have 6 users, for example, you would need to buy the group of 10 user connections. So this is not crazy dissimilar from licensing we've seen in the past. Concurrent connections confused everybody forever, you know. So this should actually be less confusing, but it's a little hard to get there. There's a new type of FileMaker Pro. So this is a big deal called FileMaker Pro for user connections. This is intended to be used only with FLT and to be always connected to a FileMaker server. Because FileMaker Pro for user connections is always connected to FileMaker server, there's no license key required. The authentication takes place in the connection to the server itself. So This is very unlike FileMaker Pro, where you put in a license key, you can be offline or online if you'd like. This really is intended for you're using this with FileMaker Server, not even just any normal old FileMaker server, but you're using this with FLT licensing. All right, you don't have to enter a license key when you install it. You have to be connected at all times. Users of FileMaker Pro for user connections, FileMaker Go or WebDirect count as user connections. Users cannot connect using more than one client at a time. So just reiterating that again. If you need to access an offline file, for example, FileMaker Pro must be used and is sold individually under legacy licensing. FileMaker Pro does require a license key, and its users do not count as an FLT user connection. So this is sort of strange, right? So now you have FileMaker Pro, not for user connections, right? So that's a totally different program now. So this is FileMaker Pro. You can connect to servers. You can connect to FLT servers or regular old servers. You can access files offline, and it does require a license key. So now you're buying individual licenses for FileMaker Pro, and because you're doing that, you are not taking up a user connection. So this is entirely separate, right? So FileMaker Pro is outside of FLT licensing pretty much, and FileMaker Pro for user connections is inside FLT licensing. So kind of strange. FileMaker Pro Advanced, same way. It's sold individually under legacy licensing. FileMaker Pro Advanced does require a license key, and its users do not count as an FLT user connection. So with FLT, everything you get doesn't require a license key, and you're using up a user connection. With legacy licensing, FileMaker Pro Advanced, you buy the programs themselves, and they have license keys to authenticate, and you're not taking up user connections. So it's just a shift in the licensing, really. It's super strange. Concurrent connections are being deprecated. If you have anonymous users connecting to a WebDirect solution, then you will still need concurrent connections. You can still buy them, but the price is increasing to be several times the price of FLT. And Jason's holding up 3 fingers at me because that is it. They're tripling the price to really tell you don't use concurrent connections anymore, essentially. Now, I don't know what they'll do for those of us that have like an external facing WebDirect solution, because that is still out there. It's not common, and even we don't do it very often, but it is a lot better sometimes than doing a whole bunch of PHP development. So they'll still need to help us out with anonymous users somehow. And FileMaker Server is included in your purchase of FLT licensing. So you buy FLT user connections, you get FileMaker Server. Actually, it's called FileMaker Server for Teams, and then FileMaker Pro for user connections, Go or WebDirect can connect. And actually, let me go back and elaborate a little bit on that more. So if we had FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro Advanced outside of the FLT licensing situation, you can still connect to FileMaker Server for Teams. You can still connect to FLT servers, essentially, okay? Because you're out of the user connections. It lets you connect. It just doesn't count you as an FLT user, okay? Now, as far as FileMaker Pro for user connections, Go or WebDirect, I don't know if you can connect to other people's teams, right? I don't know if you can connect to other servers. It's a little bit murky there for me still, right? But I know what the intention is. The intention is you have your server that's included in your licensing, and all of your users will connect to your copy of FileMaker Server. So I called FileMaker's licensing folks to get some sort of elaboration, because in our situation, we have one Windows server, and it's great. It does a wonderful job, and it hosts all of our clients that want to pay us, however much a month, to not have to go find their own licensing situation and hosting situation, because that's super expensive. It's redundant. They don't necessarily need their own hardware. So we help them out a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we fit into this? How does our server situation, which is super strange and totally the opposite of FLT, what happens to us, right? When we want to upgrade to FileMaker Server 15 for Teams. So let's imagine we own a FileMaker development company, just saying, and we're using our Windows server and our copy of FileMaker Server 14 to host files for 20 different customers. How do we fit into FLT licensing? We would get a count of all of the users that will need to connect to our server from all the customers we host for. We need to manage charging our customers per user for the licensing upgrade. And we would then purchase that amount of user connections from FileMaker. Along with this purchase, we would get FileMaker Server 15 for Teams. We'd then upgrade FileMaker Server 14 to FileMaker Server 15 for Teams. We would also have to make sure all of our clients were upgraded to FileMaker Pro for user connections. So essentially, Extensitech becomes the team, right? So instead of all of our clients individually being teams, we are the team, and all of our clients are our user connections. So we'd have to buy a ton of user connections for everybody that's on our server, and get them all using FileMaker Pro for user connections. But then, this is something I got from FileMaker from calling them and trying to get some elaboration. So this process, I didn't make this up. This is a question and an answer I got from them, right? This is okay. All right, so we have FileMaker Server 15 for Teams installed, and we have everybody connected as user connections, so we can continue to host everybody. All right, so this is, from their mouth, not from mine, and I'm double, triple checking everything just to make sure that we're okay. We don't want to do wrong by FileMaker, but as of 2 weeks ago when I called and checked on this is what they said to do, right? Because I don't want everybody to have to go and get a server. If we have 20 people that have relied on us to not have to go and get a Windows or Mac server for hosting for all this time, and they're super happy with us, I don't want them to be miserable and have to go rent their own hardware or buy their own hardware. It's one thing for them to have their own copies of FileMaker Server. I don't mind that. I can understand that maybe all those organizations need a copy of FileMaker Server, but hardware is a whole different ballgame. That's really expensive. All right, and these are my sources: FileMaker Help products, FileMaker Hacks, and the licensing for Teams facts. Which I'll open this up just to give you guys something to look at while we're talking here, because it's an interesting one. And now I'm going to.
Is that the only option they're giving available? Are they still giving the old one, or is that?
Yeah, they totally are. They still have legacy licensing, like I was saying. It's kind of a mix and match. You can either do it the old way, outside of licensing for Teams, where you have FileMaker Server not for Teams, right? FileMaker Pro not for user connections, and FileMaker Pro Advanced, and you can play like that. I guess. I'm guessing until they force this down our throats even more, as far as FLT goes, but. I know at least with FileMaker Pro and FileMaker Pro Advanced, you are allowed to stay outside of the FLT thing if you need to. But they're calling it legacy licensing for a reason. I don't know how long it's going to be around.
I think that the distinction there in a like a FileMaker hosting environment, like Wayne's discussing there, is that part of the end-user license agreement for FileMaker Server 15 is that you're not really allowed to host multiple companies' solutions on one license of FileMaker Server, not for Teams anymore. So they're kind of driving us in that direction, so that we can't keep the current posture we have with and be stay what's that word for that? We can't adhere to the licensing agreement and keep our current situation where all of our users have standard FileMaker licensing, and we have a single license of FileMaker Server. So our options there are to kind of fold all of the various companies that we host for into our own sort of FileMaker for Teams setup, or we send them off to find their own hosting elsewhere. So they have at least given us that, because I think up to this discussion that Wayne's talking about, we didn't even have that option where we could get them all into our own sort of FileMaker for Team licensing setup. So we were really kind of at a complete loss, wondering, this is just sort of the end of that service that we provide. And it's not really a core business for Extensitech. We are really primarily just custom solution developers. But over the years, we've accumulated goodness, so we have 40 or 50 files on our server now for a couple of dozen different companies. So it's kind of a major upheaval, and I can imagine that the actual the real hosting companies out there that host for hundreds of companies are probably they were really freaking out about this. So
how that's going to affect them.
I'm sorry, say again.
I'm just reiterating, just thinking out loud is all. There's other companies that go out there and do hosting services, I'm wondering how it's going to affect them too.
Well, certainly the ones that we've been in contact with obviously have been sweating this a lot. So there's been a lot of discussion within the FileMaker, the FBA, and even the platinum members of FBA with FileMaker to try to determine, what what the heck are you doing to us here? And of course, FileMaker they're a sales organization. They're they're here to make money, so we get it. But we're just trying to find, kind of like we always are, as the sort of weird middleman developers that we are, trying to find, how do we fit into this? How do we make life easier on our clients? Where FileMaker is involved, and I suspect that the dust will settle on this. It seems like it's a bit of an upheaval, but they're kind of working with us, and we're just kind of, unfortunately, just still a little bit out in the cold here. But like I said, this new development of being able to basically license our clients' companies into our own FileMaker team, licensing team, is at least something. It seems like we ought to be able to get there. We ought to be able to spread the cost around to them, and I suspect that it's going to be a bit of a price hike, because at the moment we can afford to do annual agreement for a FileMaker server and not charge our clients very much for hosting. But now if we have to factor in the fact that we're dealing with the FileMaker for licensing for teams pricing model, where servers are sort of included, and we're really actually paying for all those licenses, it's likely to show up as a price increase. We won't be able to cover the cost of them for the same amount. So that's kind of out there. Anybody else out there getting into this already? Anybody made any purchases or sales of FLT licensing for FileMaker?
That was a great question, and I'm excited to see if anybody's dived into it.
No, but I missed something. Could you just put an entry in the text there? What is there a difference from the 100 file database limit on the server?
I don't believe that's changed. I've not heard anything about that or seen anything about that, but let's see if we can find something here. Let's see. So FileMaker server 15 limit. Compare versions.
Yeah, text specs I have it.
Let's see. We have to do 1 to 100. Okay. Well, okay, so that's tested user connections. FileMaker Pro connections. Where might you be hiding?
It's not there in the capacities for where file number of files hosted.
In full disclosure, we can't pull up our own FileMaker 15 server because we haven't upgraded yet because of all this, really.
Yeah, we're making sure that this is the right move and we know what we're doing. All right, so FileMaker WebDirect, mobile phone, and security. Yeah, if they didn't list it here, then they haven't changed it. What is it usually? 100, 125?
I thought 125. Leonard, if we can't figure that one out real quick, we'll find out.
We'll go on our server and see what's going on there. I believe they show the maximum here. What is it? Nah, this is what I'm thinking of. I think the number of maximum number of files to host, 125. Yeah, and this is FileMaker server 14, and if they didn't put anything in the log about this change, that's a pretty big change. They would have told us. So yeah, so I'd imagine it's still 125. Hey, we answered a question straightforward for once. That's amazing. All right, so now that pretty much concludes the presentation. So I'm going to stop the recording, and we can get into the discussion.